Let's solve 5x squared plus 23x plus 12 equals 0 by factoring. Before we can start factoring, we need to check to be sure that our equation is set equal to 0. In this case, our equation is already equal to 0, so we are ready to proceed with factoring. We'll set up our parentheses in order to start reverse FOIL. When we FOIL, we do first times first, and we should create a product of 5x squared. So the factors of 5x squared are 1x and 5x. So I'll place those in the first positions. Now we need to figure out our signs. To help us determine our signs, we need to look at the sign of C. Our C value is positive. This means that our signs and our factors will be the same. We know this because in order to get a positive 12, our last times our last must have the same sign. It must be a positive times a positive or a negative times a negative. How do we decide if it's a positive times a positive or a negative times a negative? We can look to the sign of B. The sign of B will tell us what both of the signs in the factors should be when C is positive. So since B is positive, both signs will be a positive. The reason that this is the case is because when we are foiling, the outer plus the inner has to create the B value. If we are creating a positive, we would need to add a positive and a positive instead of a negative and a negative. Now we need to find our last times our last. These numbers must multiply to get to 12. So let's think of the factors of 12. We could do 1 and 12. We could do 2 and 6, or we could do 3 and 4. This is where some of the guessing comes in. Let's just try 3 and 4. So we'll place the 3 here and the 4 here. We'll need to FOIL this out, or at least do outer plus inner to check to make sure that we created the correct factors for our quadratic equation. So let's FOIL. First times first would be 5x squared. Outer times outer would be plus 4x. Inner times inner would be plus 15x. And last times last would be plus 12. When I go to combine my outer plus my inner, I get 19x. That doesn't match my B value of 23x. That means I don't have the correct factors or I don't have them in the correct place. Let's try to switch our 3 and our 4. So let's put the 4 here and the 3 here. Now let's check. This would be 5x squared plus 3x plus 20x plus 12. Now our B value is correct. So we can know that we have correctly factored the equation 5x squared plus 23x plus 12 equals 0. Now we'll apply the zero product property. So we'll say x plus 4 is equal to 0, or 5x plus 3 is equal to 0. Let's solve x plus 4 equals 0 by subtracting 4. That will give us x is negative 4. Let's solve 5x plus 3 equals 0 by subtracting 3. That leaves 5x equals negative 3. Divide by 5, and we get x is equal to negative 3/5. So we ended up with two solutions, x equals negative 4 and x equals negative 3/5.